Hey guys, this is Professor McPherson. Today I'd like to talk to you guys about grades, all right? Essay grades in particular. So the first thing I want you guys to realize when you guys get your grades back is don't take your grade personally, especially if you get a bad grade. Don't take anything personally. Students often will, if they get a bad grade, will react in some pretty predictable ways. I've been doing this for almost 3 decades now. And when they react negatively, they'll either hate the professor, like, oh my God, the professor's such an a-hole, like, oh, how could he do this? I've been getting great grades on my essays and all my other classes up until this. How can this person do this? Or they will feel inadequate themselves, like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or I didn't understand it, or I'm not an English person, or whatnot. Or they'll just ignore it and they won't figure out what they did wrong and they won't figure out how to improve. Don't do any of those things, okay? Those aren't healthy ways to respond. You're still a good person whether you get a bad grade on something or not. The grade has nothing to do with you as a person. It's just a grade. So you could get the most horrible grade on something, but you're still you, and it doesn't change who you are. You all of a sudden don't stop being a good person, okay? So try to think of the grade as just the grade on a product. You're graded on a product, not who you are as a person. And also don't say that you worked hard on something and somehow that entitles you to a good grade. Because let me give you an example here. Let's say that you're in a job and you have 2 people that are asked to produce a proposal on something. The person over here works 10 hours at it and is really proud of their work and they submit their work. The person over here works 3 hours on it and then they submit their work. And the person over here, they get their product ranked higher than the person over here. And the person over here is incredulous and is like, well, how can that be? I worked so hard on it. Well, the reality is that the evaluators are only grading you on the quality of the product. And they have no way of telling how many hours that you spent on that product, that proposal. Unless you ask the person directly, they have no idea. So, and I understand a lot of times too when students get bad grades that's another thing they'll say. They'll be like, I worked so hard on this just to get a bad grade. Well, it's not even worth it. Don't do that either. Don't do that either. That's not the right mindset to have, all right? So let me kind of tell you the kind of mindset you should have. Let me talk to you about a growth versus a fixed mindset. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. If you've ever said to yourself, like, I'm not a math person, or I'm not an English person, or I'm not a science person, or even like I don't know how to cook, or I don't know how to fish, or anything like that. All of those things are lies that you've told yourself somewhere along the road, some lie you've told yourself and you truly believe it. Unless there's something physically making it incapable for you to accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish, that's a lie you've told yourself, okay? So, but I'm not talking about the physical. Like, for example, if I want to all of a sudden play in the NBA. Well, I physically can't. I'm too old. I don't have the skill set. I never played college basketball, so I don't have the physical attributes to be able to be successful in the NBA. But when it comes to up here, that's different, okay? When it comes to up here, it's all about your mindset, all right? I'll tell you an example from my background. When I was in college, and I'll be honest, when I was in college, it took me 3 tries to pass one of my math classes. And it was my freshman year. It took me 3 tries. And once I passed it, I thought to myself, well, this isn't right. Something's not right here. I was able to pass it the 3rd time. What was different? Like, what makes me think? Like, and I always used to say to myself, I'm not a math person. What is it that made me start thinking that? So I started looking back at my history and I realized that between the third and fourth grade, I transferred school systems. And when I transferred school systems in the fourth grade, they had already covered what my previous school district was supposed to cover in the next grade. In essence, basically, I skipped a whole year of instruction, not intentionally. So when I got to the new school district, I was struggling, obviously, because I didn't have what everybody else had as far as knowledge. So I was the kid that got pulled out of class and had to go to the special classroom and whatnot. And when you're a kid, that makes you feel terrible. That, like, you don't want to be that kid, not realizing that it's just the teacher's job just to help you. But at the time, for me at least, it was like traumatizing. So that's where it started, where I all of a sudden decided that I wasn't a math person. Well, I decided, I didn't realize that I was deciding that. It was like a stigma, right? So then when I was in college and I had to take another math class, I thought to myself, so this has got to change. And this is about the time I was learning about growth versus fixed mindset. I said, something's got to change here. And I realized that it may come math may come easier to me than easier to other people than to me, but I could still do it. So this person over here can do the problem or whatever very quickly. It takes me maybe 3 or 4 times as long, but we're both going to get to the same place. We're both perfectly capable of doing it. It just doesn't come to me as quickly. Now, this isn't in all aspects of my life. English comes to me like that. Other things, philosophy comes like that. There are so many things in my life that just come like that. But math is one of those things that I have to work harder for, but I can still get there. You may have things like that in your life, where there are things that come very quick to you in some areas of your life, but in other areas of your life, they don't come as quick. And again, unless there's something physically stopping you from doing the thing it is you want to do or accomplish what you want to accomplish, it's all up here, and it's your mindset. So if you've ever said to yourself, like, I'm not a math person, or I'm not an English person, or I don't know how to cook, don't do that. That's all up here. That's all up here. So now let's transition that to the classroom, all right? And I've been teaching, like I said, I've been doing this for almost 3 decades now. So I've seen what happens. You can have, and this happens almost every semester, well, not every semester, but this is common. You can have 2 students taking the same class with the same professor, doing the same assignments. All things are equal, and there's nothing preventing either student from doing poorly. There's no sickness, there's no mitigating circumstances, all things being equal. This person over here, they get a great grade in the class. They get a lot out of the class. In some cases, they say that this helped them for many of their other classes. And they move on and they totally get something out of the class. The person over here gets a bad grade, hates the professor, hates the class, absolutely gets nothing out of the class, all right? Now, how is that? You have 2 people that, all things being equal, get absolute opposite things out of the class. So then you may say to yourself, okay, so then to add to that, the fixed mindset over here says it's the professor sucks, the class sucks, whatever, the assignments suck, mostly the professor sucks. Over here, it's the professor's great, the assignments are great, the class is great. Both of them are wrong, okay? What actually made the difference with how they did in the class is their mindsets themselves. What their mindset was going into the class, and when they were presented with problems, how did they handle those problems, all right? So the person with a fixed mindset gets angry, maybe ignores the problem. When they try to fix the problem, maybe they half-ass it. They don't contact the professor for help. They just kind of just wallow in their own upsettedness. I don't know, upsettedness. Is that a word? Anyways, the person over here, they just think, okay, well, I got a bad grade. It sucks, but it's just a problem that needs to be solved. I just need to figure it out. So they realize it's not about them. It says nothing about them. It's not about the professor. It's just a problem that needs to be solved. So they put in the work, they figure it out, they contact the professor, they get the help, and then they resubmit their work, and then they move on and they do fine. All right. It's all about the mindset. All right. Think of it this way. You may have I think I may have mentioned this. You may have a growth mindset in some areas of your life, but not in other areas of your life. Like the most common example I give is guitar lessons. Let's say that you learn how to play guitar by ear. My brother did this, so I know this. So you learn how to play guitar by ear. And then you go into take form. You go, I'm going to take formal guitar lessons because I want to kind of level up my game. Not saying that you have to take guitar lessons to do that. If you guys play guitar, I'm just using this as an analogy. So you know how to play guitar, but you want to level it up. So then you go into the guitar teacher, and the guitar teacher teaches you some things. You're learning how to read sheet music for the first time. You're doing some things where you're making mistakes, and the teacher gives you some feedback. You practice, you make some more mistakes, and then eventually you start reading sheet music. You start playing guitar at a higher level, etc. Right? The person trying to learn how to play guitar doesn't get mad at the guitar teacher, doesn't get mad at themselves. What they do is they just go, this is just a learning process. It's part of the learning process. It just is what it is. This also happens in sports, where a lot of you may play sports. When a person wants to get better at sports, they'll often practice more. They'll put in the time. They'll do new things and whatnot. And so students will often have a growth mindset when it comes to sports or learning the guitar, but they don't transfer that over into their classes, their academic classes. It baffles me why that happens, because it's the same thing. That if you get a bad grade on something, it's just a problem. That just like, if you want to kick a goal better in soccer, you practice and you try different things. If you want to get a better grade on an essay, you practice and you try different things and you just work at it and get better at it. All right. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to change your mindset about grades. First, realize that you have the ability to do this. Even if it takes longer, you have the ability to do this. There's nothing stopping you, all right? The next, bad grades are just a problem that needs to be solved. It's not about you as a person. You're perfectly fine. It's just a problem that needs to be solved that you haven't solved yet. All right. And the third thing is, if what you're doing doesn't work, you need to try something else. You guys have heard of the saying, what's the definition of madness? If you do the same thing over and over again and then you expect the same result. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you got to do something else, because you got to switch it up. You got to change things. And then the fourth thing is, look at your teacher as your partner, not as your enemy. I know that, I was a student too, and often there's for some reason, there's this antagonistic relationship that it's like us versus them, student versus teacher. Your teachers do not get into their profession thinking, oh, I'm going to totally be bad to children or be bad to students. I mean, granted, there are some bad teachers out there, but 99% of teachers, the whole reason why they get up is to help you, is to help students. That's their whole reason for most of their day, every day throughout the year, is to help you. So you need to think of it that way, that it is in your teacher's best interest for you to do well. There is no way that you doing poorly is in the teacher's best interest. So you need to think of your teacher as a partner, that you're working together with that teacher to get you a good grade. And they want that for you. They're not going to give it to you. You got to work at it. You got to have the right mindset. but they're there for you and they want to work with you. Okay? So when you get a bad grade on something, what I'd like you to do is figure it out. You got to figure it out. It's your problem that you need to figure out how to solve. Figure it out. Okay? Try again. Don't just ignore it and move on, or don't just wallow in any type of hatred for the professor or self-pity. Try again. You got to try again. Contact the teacher. The teacher is your ally. You need to let them help you. If you don't, sometimes even when you get feedback on something and you don't understand it, contact the teacher. Ask them what that feedback meant. Don't take it personally. And also realize that sometimes it takes work. Like I told you with my math thing, I did a tremendous amount of work to make sure that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing and passing and making sure I had the right skill level. And I hated it, but it took work and I had to put in the work. All right. And it was all up to me. So try to adopt a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. You are perfectly capable and intelligent to handle all of the grades and assignments that come your way. But ultimately, it's up to you. All right. So remember that, and hopefully that will help you along your way. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope that helped. And adios.